Hey everybody, Steve the Historian, Rose Quarter behind me. I'm walking up here so I can cross the Broadway bridge to the west side of the river. It's been, as of this recording, it has been a week since our cat Stella passed away. It's a very rough transitional week trying to adjust to and get used to certain changes. September 16th was the day she passed away. One of the worst days of my life and one of the hardest years of my life. And I think of myself not as a quick griever, like I grieve and get it over with, but I would think of myself more as like a functional griever. And I've been trying to get back to doing therapy walks. It was one of my objectives for this year, and September's almost over, and just haven't been able to get around to it. And obviously my schedule of things I plan to do changed drastically with recent events, and so here I am dealing with all of this stuff, and I just thought, what better way to finally go out and actually do a therapy walk? So that's what I'm going to do today. Just like that, the GoPro is out. It's supposed to be kind of windy today. I started reconsidering whether I wanted to film today, but as I was walking to the max and kind of reconsidering things, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have a little faith and I'm just gonna do it today, because I felt like I've kind of needed this for a long time. And there's downtown. We're mostly gonna be focusing on the area north of there, so hopefully the wind won't mess with us too much. But I want to spend some time in a part of town that is maybe not as well known or as well traveled by some people. I mean, especially obviously if you're watching this and you're not from Portland or haven't been here, haven't visited here much. If you've lived here long enough, you know the area, you work, you live out there, you'll know this area. But I'm going to be wandering around northwest Portland, but mostly parts, you know, good ways northwest. So I'm crossing the Broadway bridge, which wraps around and becomes Lovejoy Street, and that's probably about as far south, more or less, as I'm gonna go for this video. And we've reached the end of the Broadway bridge. First achievement. Look at those birds. They look really small to me, so you can probably barely see them, but they're going nuts over there. They're cutting through the bridge. I guess they're landing on the bridge. I was like, that'd be really cool if they were cutting right through the bridge. Hello, Union Station. Old Town and places beyond. I've spent a lot of time recently for videos. Well, I mean, right here, in all fairness. I've passed through here, shot video a few times. And then obviously, I've been in downtown a handful of times, and I was right over there just, what, 2 weeks ago? When I did a Portland Then and Now video about the 13th Avenue Historic District, where actually, when all was said and done, I came out kind of the general endpoint. Like the last clip I shot was near Lovejoy and 13th, and that's Lovejoy right there. So, it's almost kind of like I'm picking up from where I left off. And this isn't going to be strictly like, man, the bird. Oh, here comes the birds. This is not strictly a hanging out in the Pearl District kind of video either. That's just obviously going to be part of the adventure. And the birds, they're going in circles. And now are they coming back around? They are coming back around. Can't figure it out. All right. Ah, the city. So walked Lovejoy a little ways, and 13th behind me, so that's actually where I left off the last time I was around here. I mean, I kept walking, but the focus of the video ended at 13th and Lovejoy, so even though this has nothing to do with that one, I'm still kind of just picking up where I left off. And I'm coming up to Marshall here, and I have to go down Marshall a little ways because I got to shoot something for another planned project. No spoilers. Love this building. Every time I go by, I walked past it briefly in the video I did. My 13th Avenue District video, but I didn't walk this side of it. And I mentioned how each side of the building looks a little different than another, and you can see this definitely looks different than the side I was just looking at from along 13th. This is the Marshall side of things. And yeah, it looks like the last place I remember kind of being here was like a brewery. And I don't know, it looks like the building's not being used for much. Well, there's lights on in there. That's cracked. That's some encouragement, I guess. So yeah, I'm walking west on Marshall right now, about to cross 14th. So yeah, I had to I do want to go this way, but I had to pause briefly to go film something in particular. It's a little ways over here for an upcoming film. And of course, there's nobody around, but there's one person sitting like right around the corner on the side of the building who saw me. And like, without context, I'm just this guy filming this apartment building. So it's like, what the hell are you? You gave me this look like, what the hell is this guy doing? It's historical. Don't worry about it. That'll really get somebody freaked out. Somebody's like, hey, what are you doing? I'll be like, don't worry about it. And then I just run off under the freeway, walking under I-405 at this moment. Is this street? Oh, okay. I was like, is this streetcar gonna go? And then I realized it's the fencing went a little bit further. This streetcar ain't going. I hope it's not going anywhere. Well, I mean, it would just smash into that one, I guess. But I want to come back this way. Got some cool old ghost signage here, but more importantly, trying not to get hit. We've got some old railroad tracks. I know that they tend to be along, 'cause I think this is 15th. And you've got some of this through here. And then they just eventually they all come together, and it's a nice happy ending. And yeah, these lines, they keep going on further and further down 15th. So this is 15th and Northrop. And yeah, they just keep going on at least a few more blocks that way. But I actually want to turn this way again real quick. Now, I covered this in a Patreon video just a little bit, a few years back. I've covered a lot of history, and there's more for me to cover in terms of places that have changed drastically, buildings demolished, people displaced because of things like big freeways coming in. And so I've always had an interest in that. What stays, what goes, and obviously everything in line with this freeway had to go. So just on 15th, you're just on the east side, and then you go to 16th, which this is 16th right here, you're just to the west side. Or yeah, 15th to the east, 16th to the west. So these are like, anything around here kind of survive by, the skin of their teeth. And there's a few buildings along here that you can tell obviously predate the freeway. Here's this building. Looks like it has 3 ground floor addresses. 1127, 1125, 1121. I have no idea if those are, I'm assuming, it's been so long, I'm assuming those are post renumbering addresses. But these are the kind of places that literally by a block managed to avoid getting demolished. Oh, it says A.G. Long up there, which there's a few buildings. There's one in Old Town that's attributed to A.G. Long. And it's just hiding up in there behind the fire escape. And obviously you've got a new building here. There's a new building to the other side of it. And then there's another cool building just past that that's also clearly an older building. And as this large new building ends, we got this building here. I can't fully read out what that ghost sign says. And it actually goes back a ways over there. We got this little store building. Don't know if it's being used. That's really cool. I love that. But yeah, this building here, you can tell, definitely predated the freeway. I've always loved the buildings that have this little row of thin windows near the top of like the first floor. I've always loved buildings that do that. Just adds a little charm. Another fire escape. And then it actually stretches a pretty good distance down the street here. It's like half the block. I am now on 17th between Marshall and Northrop, and we're just gonna see where my hardy legs take me. Actually, I want to move a little bit further west because I want to check out there's some apartments that I just added, and I know I've passed, like a lot of them are a little bit south of here, but there's a lot of cool historical architecture a little bit further off that way. I love this though. Bodyvox PDX Arts, 17th and Northrop. You can see a little apartment building popping up over here. There's just so many cool old apartments and houses, buildings of all sorts through here. In parts because unlike certain other parts of town, it hasn't been just completely inundated by new, ugly, overpriced architecture that nobody really wants and few can afford. I am veering south. I mean, as long as I stay north of Burnside, I'm technically in northwest. But this is, and it's kind of beat up. I mean, it's just the way I like it. I'm trying to stay in the shadow of this thin tree so I don't get a bunch of sun in my face. This is at the southeast corner of 19th and Marshall. I just love it. It's so beat up and so beautiful. Yeah. I've kind of wanted to do a video about the history of a lot of these apartments. A lot of them popped up in the early 20th century as the city was developing further, and it's important to realize that after the Lewis and Clark Expo, which we'll be walking through some of that area in a little while, a lot of that, or that event itself, led to a massive population spike in the city of Portland, something I've discussed many times in various videos. It's hard to go one video without mentioning the Lewis and Clark Expo, but it was an event that had a severe effect on the city. And so as the population exploded, it more than doubled in like a 5-year period. And it continued to grow steadily, you know, into the 1920s. And so the city, you know, they had to keep up. So a lot of, in particular, new hotels, because, you know, a lot of people lived in hotels. A lot of hotels and a lot of apartment buildings had to be built during the first, you know, like 30 years, like between like early 1900s and like 1930. And so you've got a lot of apartment buildings from that period, and a lot of the ones through here are from that time period. I mean, they had to keep up. All these people are coming here. They gotta live somewhere. So I just veered off of 20th and Lovejoy. I got another really cool old apartment. Oops, right here. I'm trying to shatter my ankle. And there's another one. Actually, two? Pushed up again? Unless, nah, the architectural style's different. I was like, is this just one oddly shaped building? Well, it's comparable. Maybe it was. And this one of them was slightly altered. I don't think so. I think they were probably just two buildings that were butted up against each other. You can still see a distinct difference here where they split. But it's cool, and I know in particular on like Johnson and I think Irving are some of my favorite apartments. Not necessarily the largest in this area. Well, here's Kearney, so Johnson's the next street down, so Johnson's probably about as far south as I'm gonna go, because this is some of my favorites are just peppered right in this area down over here. All right, so this is 20th and Johnson, and I'm going east now on Johnson briefly, just to show. We got a lineup of a few apartments, fairly simple, but historic, of historic significance, and I'm hoping, I don't know how much that's helping. I'm trying to keep the sun. Well, I guess I can get a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now the sun is the world's biggest electric hula hoop. But yeah, it's, you know, it's just kind of lined with and you've got the ones with the fairly elaborate entrances. I mean, look at this. It's freaking beautiful. Love it. You hear me say that a lot when I'm surrounded by architecture that's appealing to the eye. I love it. It's awesome. So awesome. That's one of my go-tos. So awesome. Now traveling south on 19th towards Irving. There's a row of apartments on Irving that I want to get a clip of, and yeah, like I said, you've got, I mean, this one over here, this one is huge. I mean, this one has like 3 different entrances. And then you've just got another large one butted up against it. And then you've got, one of these is called like the Olympic. I forget if it's this one or I think, no, that's the Worthington. Yeah, so that's the Worthington. This is the Olympic, historically speaking. I want to make sure I see the buildings that I want to see. I think it's actually 2 blocks. Huh? Yeah, I think it's a little bit up here. And then I'm gonna start going north again. Oh yeah, I think they're actually right over here. I got really good pictures of these places, but it was also in March. The leaves hadn't really grown back yet, so some of these might be more obstructed by the trees, but I mean, it wouldn't be Portland if there wasn't trees obstructing something when at some other time there wasn't. Yeah, here's the Irving Manor. This is one of my favorite ones. It has like a little electric Irving Manor sign on it. I even love the colors, the gray with the light, the baby blue. Just absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite little residential structures in the city. And then there's another one, and this one's pretty comparable. You can tell these were built at the same time. They literally have the same, like the entrances are identical, so they were obviously built together. And this is the Barcelona. And it's cool because they're so comparable, but with the paint and the color and slight differences, like that up there doesn't exist up there. It's a little bit different at the top, but even though otherwise these buildings are like, you know, 90% the same, you can look at them side by side and think, you know, they look pretty distinctly different. Is this the, what is it, the Zebedee? What? There's one up here that has a really cool name, and I can't, and it's one of the ones that looks like this. Zenobie. Is that it? Zenobie Court. Because yeah, I think that's satisfactory to my apartment fix. we can start heading north again. But yeah, I love these buildings with the brick where it's like it juts out, like no brick sticks out the same as the one next to it. So cool. So many cool. It's like probably my favorite gathering place for apartments in the city. I'm assuming it's pronounced Zeneby Court. Zeneby. Okay, so this is 20th and Irving. So, oh, of course. I'm gonna have to figure something else out. So my main objective now is I'm probably just gonna go north on 20th for a while, unless of course it ends randomly, but then I'll go over to like 19th or whatever, because I actually want to gradually make my way north. I'm hanging out a little bit in the Alphabet District, the Edge of the Pearl, places I don't spend a whole lot of time, but places I have been through. Shavada, I want to get more north. Go to some places where, aside from maybe over by like Maclay Park and Montgomery Park, which I will pass by, kind of areas I haven't really been through that much. And of course, then I turned right away. There's just a lot of people here, and I thought, you know what, I'll go down to 19th, walk up 19th for a spell. I did kind of want to hang out closer to I-405 and kind of walk along the edges of that, but maybe I'll do that when I'm kind of starting to be on my way back. But for those of you who don't know, I haven't done a therapy walk since, I don't know, it could be as far back as 2021. Maybe 2022, early 2022. It's been a while. And obviously, 2022 was when I decided to start changing how I did my channel, the type of content I was doing, and it's a lot more time consuming. I don't really have as much time to go out and wander around and just be like, hey, Steve the Historian, checking out some stuff or whatever, and you kind of pick a place to start, have a general idea of where you want to go, but then you kind of, you know, let yourself just kind of go wherever you feel. Let your feet carry you, not your brain so much. As illogical as that may sound. But, so, the last time I did a therapy walk, I had maybe, I don't know, 3,000 subscribers. And I'm almost to 23,000 now, so we got a lot of people, and especially since all my past therapy walks, they're not public anymore, they're unlisted, so you can find them. You just have to go to my my playlist that I have for them. So they're still available, you just have to know to go to that playlist. So a lot of new people probably have not seen my therapy walks, may not know what they are. So as I'm venturing, because I'm kind of in a moment where I'm going to be walking several blocks, and mostly just to get from one place to another, not so much to show you something, can maybe just kind of introduce you to, give as brief of a rundown as I can of the lineage of the therapy walk. Therapy walk is just a name, you know, it's not, you know, it's just a name I gave to some videos I started doing. And in August 2019, old viewers, they know this story, they've heard it a million times. I started getting these mystery headaches. Couldn't figure them out. My doctor couldn't figure them out. They weren't migraines, they weren't tension headaches, they weren't cluster headaches. We just could not figure out what was going on. And so I just had these chronic headaches, and then it turned out that it was actually dry eye. It was like my early experience with dry eye. And because, you know, my eyes were so irritated, it was causing this, you know, head pain around my brow ridge. But it took about 2 months to figure that out. And so I realized when I was outside and you get some of that crisp air in your eyes that it wasn't bothering me as much. So I was like, okay, maybe being outside will help me, because I was getting kind of, you know, I was pretty bothered. I was like, I can't figure out what's going on and I'm having head pain. What does it mean? So I started just doing videos, and I started becoming obsessed with doing them because it was the only time where I wasn't having head pain, was when I was outside for long enough. And the first one I did, in fact, I got off the bus. This is Lovejoy and 19th. I got off the bus at 23rd and Lovejoy, just 4 blocks up there, when I did my first ever therapy walk, where I went up Cornell Road, walked through Maclay Park, and that was pretty much it. And it was just a, you know, way of getting out. And I just started doing them obsessively, and it was fun because I started discovering new places that I really hadn't been to before. But the main objective was literally getting me some, you know, a break from this ongoing head pain that I was having. So I called them therapy walks because they were therapeutic. And so I did them for a while until, because I started doing them late August, and then by mid-October, you know, the crappy weather starts coming back. And so I stopped doing them, and then I started doing them again, you know, off and on, because I enjoyed doing them. But then when the fibromyalgia started, I kind of started doing them again. Because that also felt better when I got out and, you know, moved around a little bit. It made my fibromyalgia not bother me as much. And then we moved, and I started doing them a little bit again. And it was just kind of something I did off and on. And even if I was doing one at a time where I didn't have anything seriously bothering me, that I would, you know, I need something therapeutic at this time and place, just going out and doing this, just being out here, it relaxes me, it calms me. If my blood pressure was up, I bet you $1 million it would bring my blood pressure down. It always has some, like, benefit to it. So it's always therapeutic, even if I don't need something at that moment. So I'm actually about to get back to where I was earlier. I'm kind of zigzagging a bit right now, but that's fine, because I won't be doing that soon as I continue to move north. But yeah, so I just kind of periodically would do these therapy walks between 2019 and, again, I don't remember when I stopped, but at the latest into 2022, and then I stopped doing them. And, you know, this whole year was an objective for me to start doing them again. And I've just been too busy, and there's been just too much going on. 2025 has been a pretty rough year. And dealing with all of the drama and the struggles of trying to take care of our cat, that was just one of the many things we struggled with. And it does bring me comfort to look back on these last several months' struggles, you know, aplenty, and I have no regrets about these last several months. In particular, what we did for Stella. We prolonged her life by being proactive pet owners. We objectively extended her life by probably about 3 months. She started doing so bad. Even after a day, we could tell there was a change, and we were pretty sure that we were gonna have to take her in. And we felt it was the right time. We could tell it was the right time. My wife had read so many pieces people had written about how they kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and the way that their pets' suffering grew exponentially in a short period of time, and we didn't want that. And then when we took her in, you know, she had such a great checkup a few months ago. When we took her in, the doctor just gave her a quick look over, and she said, yeah, very quickly she could feel the cancer growth. I was so overwhelmed. I don't remember if it was in her stomach or in her intestines, but that's what had started all of this. But she was struggling so much, and despite that, and despite the fact that she did have cancer growing in her body, we were so attentive to her. We kept doing everything we could in terms of what kind of medicine should she be taking. We actually boosted her steroids. That was our suggestion to the doctor, and that is what started slowing down her nausea and we, you know, despite what was happening, we took her in a month after this really rough appointment where she lost some weight. She had a thyroid issue. We didn't know everything. And when we took her back in, despite what was happening, she actually had gained a little bit of weight. She'd actually gained like 1/10 of a pound, which when you're a cat who is succumbing to cancer, like, that's insane. And so we literally did everything we could to keep her alive, happy and well, as long as we could. And then the moment we could really see that there was a serious change and that it was just obvious this was not just a bad day, it's really bugging her today, we could tell that this was probably the end. And I cried more on that morning than I had collectively in probably the previous 20 years. It was horrible. But it was the right time, and My wife and I have been very supportive of each other, and that's really kept us going. We both have agreed, you know, the manner in which we want to grieve, I feel, is very collective. We're very much on the same wavelength in terms of certain things, and then in other aspects we've been very honest with each other that, like, there's going to be certain ways in which we grieve differently, and we're not going to, you know, bug each other about that. If someone needs to talk about it, the other one listens, you know. Because this is close to, we're not planning on ever having children. I mean, especially with all the medical issues still, I mean, it really does feel like we lost, it's as close as I'm ever going to feel to feeling like we lost a child. And so you just, you know, I can't even really offer up great advice to anybody, because everyone has to grieve differently. You can't say, well, you know, when this thing happens, you just got to do this. And it's like, well, that's not going to work for some people. So, again, I kind of consider myself to be I don't know what to call it, a functioning griever. And that I can grieve something for a long period of time, in brief flourishes, kind of. It comes for a moment and then goes, and then comes for a moment and then it goes. And you really do need to kind of let it go and come, as it does. If you just let it come and don't let it go, you drive yourself absolutely crazy. And it actually helps me to do, excuse me, I'm not getting choked up. I literally just, my throat got dry for a second. It's always beneficial to me to be productive in times of struggle. And here I am. I kept walking west, and I was like, you know, I kind of wanted to meander near the freeway. Well, here we are. I'm at 16th and Quimby, Ramona Quimby, and we're back by the freeway. I did want to come through here, and I was thinking maybe I'll hit it on my way back, but screw it, we're here. And this doesn't stray me too far from where I want to be. This is, I don't know. This is definitely an area I don't venture in very often. I mean, Fremont Bridge is right, well, it's kind of behind this thing, but it's literally bridge right there, and everything that goes off that way over there. Back to these tracks. Fortunately, there's no traffic coming. And you've got rails over here. Yeah, it just keeps going. I wish this was a one-way street where all the traffic was coming towards me, because then I could just meander out here and not have to, well, I mean, you never know when a lunatic's going to come out of nowhere. But fortunately, I mean, there's not a lot of traffic through here. People don't really need to drive in this particular area unless they really have a serious reason to be out here. Heck, I don't even have a serious reason to be out here. I'm just here. Got some beat up urban architecture. So I'm on 15th right now. And yeah, I want to walk through this area. I in particular want to hit up this area where you're going underneath all of these on and off ramps from the Fremont Bridge. It's crazy. I'm planning on, probably not too far down the road, doing a video about the construction of I-405. Almost kind of as a supplement in ways to the video I did on the South Auditorium Urban Renewal Project, because they happened very close to the same time, and this freeway further south actually crossed over that area. So I do eventually, you know, the ending portion of that video obviously would be covering the Fremont Bridge, because that was the last part that was built. But I read up on, you know, the amount of steel that was used, and it's just crazy. And we're also still butting up against this, you know, Pearl District-y architecture. And the rivers keeps gradually coming closer to us the further north we get. So you look over here and it's really not that far to the river, even though we're on 15th right now. And theoretically we'd be about 15, 16 blocks away from the actual river itself. All right, no traffic behind me, no traffic in front of me. There's the Fremont Bridge right there. And then the road kind of ends for me, so it's going to keep meandering under these. I just love that these are they're just like right down on the sidewalk, these massive supports for, like, you look at this and you're like, huh, this isn't interesting. What's this all about? And then you realize this is just a massive support for a ramp onto the Fremont Bridge. It's nice. There's a little bit of shade through here. And then you can see further on the ramps going this way. Those are going towards Highway 30, highway that's ultimately takes you along Oregon's border with Washington up into the peninsula and takes you all the way to Astoria. Because they split here, as you can see. You come off the bridge, that way I-405, and then these ones wrap around to Highway 30. Yeah, I'm gonna stick here for a while. Why, hello there. Hello to you too. People down under here, this is so nice. Because this is definitely a particular area I have never walked through before. So hey, you know, we're getting a little bit of what I was kind of striving for. But those of you not from around here, haven't been in this area, you're getting, you know, you're getting a little bit of this enjoyment with me. Welcome to the city. Private property. Ooh, a little fire. And then you start seeing a little bit more civilization over here. Actually, I gotta walk over here because there's a couple of buildings I love that are right over here that for some reason I thought were more that way or that way. I think I've kind of misguided how far north I've gone. I will come back this way though. Alright, I'm a little disoriented. I gotta figure out what intersection am I even coming to? Right when I was about to comment on, hey, the wind hasn't been that bad, I'm starting to get some more blusteriness. Okay, 19th and Raleigh is where we're at. And I just wanted to stop here for a moment to show you this cool castle of a building. It's been here a pretty long time. I looked up the history of this place once. I do not remember exactly what it was. I really don't remember. Something I'd have to look up. Well, and I have access to the massive Oregon Historical Sites database. I'm sure this is on there. And then just a little ways down 19th, you've got this awesome church over here. I'm wondering if the house here is associated with it. It probably is. So cool. And to think this used to all be fairly, I mean, there was buildings here and such, but to think it was fairly open prior to the end of the 60s into the 70s. Boy, oh boy, has that changed. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Welcome to St. Patrick Catholic Church. Good old St. Patrick. You can't go wrong. I would hope it would be. So RS, so yeah, this is 19th and Xavier. Although you wouldn't know by that sign. Whew, there's a lot of growth on this one. It has seen better days, but anyway, I just came from that vicinity, so we're gonna keep moving our way north. because there is a pretty cool industrial area up here, and on top of that, I want to move. I want to go this way a bit because there's plenty of history down there as well. Oh, look out! You come out from behind here, and it changes a lot. Actually, there's some interesting stuff here. I'm gonna bust out my iPhone for this. So this is 19th and Thurman right here, off ramps to Highway 30. We have a ghost ramp right here, and we have what appears to be an abandoned stretch of road. Hello. Wondering if this was, it looks like it, I'm wondering if this was like a planned on-ramp, because you got this coming through here. Yeah, this is all, I mean, this is obviously once used as a road. Yeah, I gotta pull up some old maps. Maybe not even necessarily that old. Because, yeah, this looks like it was 2 lanes. Probably, you know, they got the white line, so probably 2 lanes of traffic going in the same direction. And heading towards what is actually, I mean, just beyond the fencing here, this is an on-ramp. This is so cool. I've been through this area one other time, and obviously I missed this, because this has definitely been vacant for quite some time. So hey, I've kind of had abandoned streets, abandoned roads in Portland on my mind, and here we go. I kind of found a little something. Yeah, so I don't know if maybe this was a one-time on-ramp or off-ramp. Well, no, probably an on-ramp. Or if it was maybe just part of a street that got closed down. Maybe it was just a street prior to all this happening, and they closed it down because, I mean, things are, but it's also, what makes me just wonder is because the fact there's also conveniently a ghost ramp right here. So, if I had to throw one theory out, maybe this was planned to be a ramp that was going to come down here and to here. I mean, honestly, where else would this ramp go? I mean, they didn't tear this building down, so I'm wondering if this ramp was supposed to just come down here, and so they vacated this street through here because it was going to be replaced by that, and then that never happened, and so we're just left with this vacant street today. I'm wondering, because this is Thurman, and so now Thurman kind of, sorry, it's really loud, it kind of eases its way around this way. So I'm wondering if maybe this is a part of old Thurman Street. I don't know if it's fully in line with it. It's kind of angling up from even Thurman Street over here. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know for certain. I just stumbled onto this, so I don't really know exactly. But my thought is that was going to go down here, and so this road was vacated, and the off-ramp never happened. So while my working theory while I was there would have been really cool, I think 2 things led me a little bit astray, because I found out it wasn't quite what I was hoping it would be. One was that ghost off-ramp. I think seeing that there and knowing that it was never completed, it kind of turned off my mind to thinking what had been there may have been an on-ramp as well at some point. And looking at the state of the paint, the old lines, they were pretty faded but still visible, and it reminded me of a portion of Hancock Street that is no longer accessible but becomes part of the path on the east side of I-205 near Maywood Park. And I felt like the state of the lines I was seeing here was fairly comparable to the lines on Hancock, and that stretch of Hancock had been closed for a long time, pretty much since I-205 went through there. So it kind of led me to believe this area that had been vacated had probably been vacated for a long time. So it made me think this was probably in relation to the original I-405 construction. Well, turns out
that really was just an on-ramp. Like, you could go off of Thurman, go up the on-ramp, and merge onto Highway 30, and it had still been in use, based on Google imagery, possibly as late as 2017, because I found an image of them kind of working on it, tearing it up, maybe a little bit further on, but yeah, that's all it was. It was just an old on-ramp that had been closed down and is now just mostly used as a path.
Alright, I switched back to my GoPro. I just thought, to see this, that's too cool. And if I ever do a volume 3 of my Abandoned Roads of Portland video, I'm definitely going to stick some of this in there. So yeah, it just goes to, I thought I saw a fence crossing here, I guess not. And yeah, see, it just kind of goes to here. Would have crossed. Yeah, because it looks like it actually continues across the road here. I just have to wait to get across. Alright, so this is obviously a bike ramp now, but if you look at this, this had to be. It just had to be. Oh, I mean, you can see the lines here. And then it becomes, right here, it becomes a single line, and it's just extending from the first stretch. So this had to just be a road that just continued through here. I didn't want to go too far down here because my whole plan was to start going off the opposite direction of this, but how do you pass this up? And then in the distance in the hills, Forest Park, the more northern portion of it. I'll be headed back up there before too long for another video. No spoilers! Or maybe there's a place I can turn off here and then I can slightly backtrack. I just wanted to kind of see where this all went, because it looks like it probably just ends. And you can kind of see the remergence of the double line, and you can see that it's a road that turned here. And then we're at 21st and Vaughn all of a sudden. So yeah, this is so cool. I was really hoping I'd stumble onto something I'd never seen before. So that was successful. But yeah, we just come out at 21st and Vaughn. Like it's just another day at the office. There's the overpasses over yonder. I don't know how easily visible they are because I'm flashing camera right into the sun. But there's a little bit of cool architecture over here that I didn't want to miss. And this is actually a primary area I wanted to walk through. Just this opposite side of all of the overpasses, being on the north side of that, because there's a lot of industrial stuff. There's also a lot of just kind of houses, these houses that just, you know, more architecture that kind of seems to have survived by the skin of their teeth, because they were built, like, you know, across from the right street. And there's just periodic homes and buildings that are really close to being along, like particularly Highway 30 behind me, that are just kind of, they're just kind of stuck into these little areas, and it's just really cool. This is a particular building I wanted to come visit. It's cool. There seems to be something going on over there. I walked through here in 2016, 2017, and it was cool seeing old architecture like this, but there just seemed to be no life around here. Just a couple people wandering out of a few industrial buildings, and I'm seeing more people around here. There's something going on here. This was just kind of empty, and this building was just kind of here, which I just love this building for all of the ghost signage. I also don't want to stay out in the heat too long because I forgot to put sunscreen on today, so I don't want to get burnt, and I probably will a little bit. But we are at Vaughn Street and 19th. I actually don't really know how far I can go. I don't even know if this wraps around for me. Hopefully it does. Is there a dead end sign? Nope, just I don't know, that one might be a dead end sign. Is this a dead end sign? Save myself the embarrassment. glad I checked. Okay, cool. I mean, I ultimately wanted to get back this way anyway, so let us venture west on Vaughn. Back to where I was earlier, now realizing I'm actually on the wrong side of the highway from where I wanted to be, because I'm like, oh, I'll walk Vaughn for a while. Well, hello Vaughn, goodbye Vaughn. And that's a dead end too. But it's fine, because if I go one block up here to Wilson, it actually, well, we either go over or under the highway. I really don't know. But it does get me to the other side of the highway, which is where I want to get. But it's cool, because I guarantee you, wherever I'm going to walk through right here, I've definitely never been through before. Because I've never fully, I've definitely never walked this particular area. This building over here, I can't tell if it's vacant or if people are just like slumming. But I mean, here are some of these houses. Yeah, this house is in really rough shape, but there's lights on inside, so I don't know if people are slumming it in there or what. But yeah, you get to see some of these houses. You know, the back sides of these houses are, you know, really close to the highway. Houses that just barely survive, and they're in this industrial area. I always love finding homes, especially old homes, that are in this vicinity, in a vicinity where it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have houses. Yeah, we go over the highway right here. 21st place in Wilson. I was gonna say, yeah, that probably doesn't go anywhere. And I know one of these houses here, I forget which one exactly. This is 21st place. This says Blackstone Street. So this was probably one of those streets that got changed during the Great Renumbering, because a lot of these sidewalks will still have the old name, Blackstone Street. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's 21st place now. But yeah, but one of these homes, I think it's that one. I want to say the one with the kind of the nice bright colors, or you know, a little bit of bright colors. I want to say it was that one, but it's one of those houses there was where, I don't think it was both. I think it was one of them. One of the Jorgensen brothers, who were two guys that were arrested along with this guy. I think his name was Robert Brom. I haven't looked at the info in a long while, so don't hold me to task on that. But Brom and the Jorgensen brothers, they were three guys that went on trial and were actually convicted and then released not too far on down the road, because everybody knew they didn't do it. They are the only ones that have ever been tried and, you know, convicted, even though everyone acknowledges they didn't do it, for the murders of Larry Payton and Beverly Allen, who were killed up in Forest Park back in 1960, kind of one of Portland's great mysterious murders. And yeah, one of the Jorgensen brothers, they lived in one of those houses right there at the time that this happened. Or I think one of them was like living with his mother. So I don't remember it perfectly, but I know it was one of those houses. And yeah, so I mean, that was 1960. Larry Payton was found murdered in his car off of what is now part of Holman Road, which is walking trail in Forest Park, but you could go up, drive your car up. Back in the day, it was a lover's lane. And then Allen was missing, and she was found many miles west of Portland. She'd been murdered and left in a ditch, and to this day we don't really know who was responsible for it, because the guys that got convicted, everyone acknowledges they were busted and tried and convicted. That was all just a game. Years had gone by without anybody being convicted. People were pissed, and people wanted action, and so they took action. So that's how those guys ended up getting busted for a crime they didn't commit. Anyway, so now I'm getting back up to Vaughn here on the other side of the freeway, and I'm actually going to switch out back to my iPhone, because I want to kind of save my iPhone for when I ventured in this area. Well, we have an old phone booth sighting. A phone booth so old the trash can's been pushed in front of it. Even just the casing like this is rare. Ooh, that's seen some better days. All right, so this is 23rd and Vaughn, so I'm gonna go this way. And so I should be I'm pretty close now to a particular landmark. But beyond there, I have other reasons for particularly wanting to venture into this area. And I'm aware I use the word particular and particularly a lot. Can't help it. It's instinctive. Comes out with or without my consent. And this, I don't know. I might do an actual video about this someday. I don't know. As a pretty serious sports fan, I'm really not that interested in doing sports-related content. I'm just really not. That being said, this is 24th is this crossing street here. You see it opens up quite a bit, and then Vaughn Street's right here. Well, this area here is the former site of the Vaughn Street Ballpark where the Portland Beavers played baseball. And they've even got a little plaque here in commemoration of the many years of devoted service to the baseball fans of Portland, Oregon. Rocky Benevento. I recognize that name, not knowing local baseball history that well. At the site of the old Vaughn Street Ballpark, where he served as groundskeeper for 3 decades. So this guy was the groundskeeper. Well, good, you know, people doing the real work. So yeah, right up over here. This is where the ballpark was. And then they ultimately moved into, today it's Providence Park, but it was, Civic Stadium, Multnomah Stadium. And an interesting thing I figured out when I was doing my video on the history of 82nd is the site where Eastport Plaza is today at Holgate and 82nd. That was the place, that was a location slated to become the new ballpark for the Beavers. Portland, I think it was the Beavers. It was Portland's, baseball team. They were building a baseball park there. And what happened was U.S.'s involvement in the Korean War, and it turned into one of these things where, we're involved in another war. We want to, ration necessary items, and there was restrictions done on constructing anything that was considered primarily of an entertainment value and entertainment significance. And of course, sports is, that's what sports is. You can be a sports fanatic and it can be, in your DNA, but it's an entertainment business at the end of the day, like going to a movie, going to a concert. It's an event you go to. So any plans to progress that work were completely halted. And by the time they could start pursuing it again, I want to say the cost of the property had skyrocketed. That was a key issue. And it just ended up being one of those things that never happened. And now, as we continue walking west along Vaughn, start seeing a little bit of the Montgomery Park building creeping out, we are venturing into the general vicinity of where the Lewis and Clark Exposition happened. Mostly off this way, but we're kind of on the edge of it. I think we're close to 26th, and that is where the Fairmount was located, which is apartments now, but it was built as a hotel, place for people to stay specifically for that event. They built a massive American Inn, which actually a part of that hotel still exists as like an apartment building in these parts. And there's, a few buildings that survived and were moved after the event ended because for the most part, oh yeah, here we are. This is actually the Fairmount right here. This area is under video surveillance. Well, you're a historical location, so I'm putting you under video surveillance. And this was kind of a critical building because it was near the end. It was right at the entrance. Right by the entrance. You can see in old pictures, the entrance is pretty much right across the street. So if you turn, like, the main gateway was right here. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I do ultimately want to do a detailed video. Actually, I mean, I don't know how. There's no way in hell it would ever be one video, unless I wanted to do one, like, 3 hour. I mean, it would probably be like a 3-parter, if we're being honest. The one thing that's held me back is it would just be such an overwhelming project. I'd probably have to work on it in shifts because there's just so much to it. There was like years just in the planning and organizing and figuring out where they were going to put it. And there was so many places that they considered having it. They wanted to have it near Ladd's Addition. That's just one that comes to mind. I know there were several locations. Washington Park, which I think it was still City Park for just a little bit longer. But ultimately this area up here was chosen, and this area I'm walking through right now was part of that massive event. And there were these beautiful, glorious buildings located here. And of course, I've done a video on this event, but it was primarily a locations-based video on the Lewis and Clark Expo. Got some railing here. But yeah, right out here in this, like, you know, it seems like there's really not a whole lot to see nowadays. But the events that took place here, I mean, it was practically a World's Fair. And it completely changed the trajectory of the whole city. And it was all just right here. And, you know, it opened itself up to becoming more of an industrial area. That did kind of make sense because the area was very much just kind of neglected. It was kind of, I compare it very much to like an Olympic Village. You know, these places, these cities will invest so much into building these massive villages, and then they don't really salvage anything. They kind of abandon a lot of it. And so you have this abandoned complex that, you know, eventually gets torn down, or if you don't have the money, it just kind of stays around forever. And that's kind of what happened here. Some buildings were moved, but a lot of them just sat out here and fell apart. And I wish there was a better photographic record. I've only found like 2 or 3 pictures that show what this area looked like a few years later. And you can see there was just trash everywhere because there was a big lake here. Guild Lake was here. And there was a big bridge that crossed it. And so there was just the lake here, and then just a lot of nothing and just a lot of trash. It had become just this dumping ground. And there would be like 2 or 3 completely rotted away buildings in the distance that were all that remained a few years later of this massive event. That's cool. Lots of old railing around here. And in the vicinity of, not the Montgomery Park building specifically, but the back side of it going downhill, there was a, that was kind of where there was a large park space that was near kind of a key intersection, and the route that went out this way and actually was the bridge that crossed over Guild Lake to other parts of the event. And Guild Lake, obviously gone now. It was ultimately filled in, and a lot of industrial buildings have been built on top of it. And there was also a wartime village out here, Guild Lake, and it definitely does not have the same, well, it's not remembered as much as, say, Vanport, which they served very similar purposes, both built for the war effort, World War II. And I think because of where it was and because of how it stayed so heavily populated, I think history would have always remembered Vanport a little bit more than the Guild Lake setup over in this area. But obviously, the main reason everybody remembers Vanport and not remotely as many remember the Guild Lake is the flood. Had the same thing happened over here and wiped this place out and not done it to Vanport, even if Vanport had an interesting, robust history to it, Guild Lake would be so much more remembered. It just would. There's this massive, tragic event associated with it. And speaking of tragedy, here's Montgomery Park. View within. I mean, this is probably the most recognizable prominent building in this particular area because of its size, the big signage. For lease, I knew that was also another thing going on with this place. And this, as I've discussed in the past, I got beef with this place. This is where I had my one and only, try not to rehash it for too long, but it's a story that with the passage of time is actually one I enjoy telling more often. But this was the site of my one and only prom experience. So to tell a story rather quick, my mom spent months trying to get me to go to church when she started going to church again. There we go. And she used whatever she could to her advantage, and she started using this girl that went there, claimed that she was like a writer and stuff. Well, she wasn't really, but I was a writer, and my mom was trying to get, she was literally using a girl to get me to go to church. So I go to church one day on Easter to appease my mom, meet this girl for like 15 seconds. Next thing you know, a few days later, she asks me to her prom, which, all things considered, was the first of many red flags I should have noticed. But I was desperate. I'd never had a girlfriend before. I'd never really gone on a date before. Introverted, scared, So I agree because I'm excited. A girl wants to go out with me. I don't know who she is, but she wants to go out with me. We have, we get all this stuff taken care of for prom, buying tickets. I go get my tux. I looked freaking good. And first night we spend together is awesome. We actually hang out. We kind of laugh. We get really comfortable with each other. We have this, we hug before we leave. And she was like, bye. I miss you. And then the next 3 weeks leading up to prom, it's worse and worse and worse. And she's just treating me like shit. She's raging. She's just giving me, she's just treating me like crap, and I can't figure out why. But I was too desperate for companionship and too scared to try to figure out what was going on. I was too scared of blowing my opportunity. So I tolerated this shit. Went and picked her up. The first words out of her mouth, pardon my language, were, "You're here too fucking early." The first words out of her mouth. I didn't even get into the house yet, and she's already yelling at me. And it's just horrible. We go and pick some of her friends up. I'm getting the silent treatment. And we even stopped off at my house real briefly. And I told my mom, I don't think, I was starting to realize, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't be getting treated this way. And my mom gave me the mom thing. Just go, you'll have a great time. No, I did not have oh, you can't see it anymore. I did not have a great time at Montgomery Park. We got here. She ran off the moment we got here. Didn't want to have anything to do with me. It was so obvious what was going on. I'm actually going to cut into the lot now so you can have this, because there's the main entry we went in right over there. So, and I'm so frustrated, and God love that this couple that we brought here with us, the guy in particular, he tried so hard. He took time out of his prom experience to try to get me to have some fun. He even was like, "Hey, there's girls here without dates. Just go and dance with someone and have some fun." And I think back now and I'm like, I absolutely should have done that. Let her know. But I was just so messed up, and I was so alone and so desperate. And so I chose to be just be a victim. And so I confronted her finally, "Why did you bring me here? What is this?" And she gave me some well, I'm not. And then she said it. She said, "I don't like you the way that you like me." And so I was just cool. I went And I sat downstairs near those windows for about 2.5 hours. And the only reason I stayed there was because the couple we brought, I promised their parents I would get their kids home safely. And I even promised my frickin' prom date's mom, who loved me, that I would get her home safe. And that is the only reason I stayed. And it's also the only time I unknowingly blew a stoplight, because I was just driving and the guy with us was like, Steve, did you see that stoplight there? And I was like, oh. It's like, I don't care. We're going in the river tonight. So I dropped her off at her, to get picked up. And that was it. I was done with her. And then a couple weeks later, she got fixated on me, and it took me almost a year to get her out of my hair. Anyway, that's the abridged version of the prom experience. But anyway, back to my history. It's level over here, and then it starts going downhill. And actually, there's a staircase right here that leads you down. And I don't think it was quite this steep. Maybe it was, but this was all like a little park space that you could go down to get to one of the primary intersections down there, which was the way that you would use to cross the lake. In a lot of the famous pictures of Lewis and Clark Expo, you see the bridge crossing the lake, and it was right down here. So we're venturing down through the one-time park. Nice to get some shade. I really don't want to get sunburnt, but I probably will a little bit. Also, my left calf, she's a little... I got woken up by a nice little Charlie horse at like 7 in the morning. That was fun. It wasn't the worst I've ever had, but there's not really a good Charlie horse. Okay. And yeah, so the park space kind of would have come down through here. And now we get down here, and we're still in the heart of where the exposition was, but we're also in the heart of this really kind of cool, gritty, rundown industrial area. Still some Forest Park right up in there, because the river kind of keeps veering in, and they get really close, and it gets to a point where it's thin enough that it's pretty much just hills of Forest Park, Highway 30, and then some industrial stuff between it and the river. Oh, hello, you. Yeah, my wife and I, we were out at a park yesterday. We heard this massive splash. We thought there was just a big fish under our bridge, and then we look, and it was actually a nutria. So that was cool. They're around, but you don't really see them a whole lot. Yeah, so here's where that elegant park space would have come out. And you can see the land here is a little bit more, I mean, of course, things have changed a lot since 1905, but yeah, this is pretty park space. And there's a building around here, and I can't be dead certain. I think it might be this building. It was a building right in this area. I can't remember exactly, but there was a dark, sad story. And yeah, this road here, this is pretty much in line with the road that went across the bridge during the Lewis and Clark Expo. It was pretty much in line with 29th right here. So you can get a feel. See what it looks like now, and then you can see what it looked like before then. Quite the change in these parts. I'm not dead certain, but I think it might be this building right over my shoulder here. That I stumbled onto a story about like someone got locked up in like ice. Oh my god, my face. Come on, face. Got like locked up in like a freezer, and nobody knew they were in there, and the guy was alone, and he ended up just dying that way. And I'm pretty sure it was in that building behind us, or it was a building in this vicinity, and thank God we have a 7-Eleven right here. I am thirsty. Citrus berry punch. I just wanted something to drink. So let's... Ooh. Sorry. You're in my hand, so you're turning as I turn the cap. Okay. So try to envision it. This is where that bridge was. Not very bridgy nowadays. But that's what 120 years will do to you. And I don't know if I'm going to walk all the way. Maybe what the hell? Why not? Maybe I will. Just kind of walk to the next busy street. And that was pretty much the backside, the furthest north point of the exposition. You know, it's nice to, you know, kind of walk through here, since I reference the exposition like every other video I do. And I was saving my iPhone for walking through here. And I didn't really know how much I was gonna actually like video of the area, but figure you never know. And also I eventually am planning on turning around and making my way back towards downtown, but a little closer to the river. That's a bit of a walk, although it is tempting that there's the 15 goes through here. I think the 15 actually starts like just around the corner, and the 15 can take me straight on through to a few different routes that I could use to take home. Look at this ride. Look at this ride. I love it. I particularly love cars like this now because I'm using so many old pictures in my videos, and you can see so many vehicles like this in some of the videos I crossed. And then there's just this Tesla behind it. This dumpy little Tesla. And you know, if I veered a little ways to my left or my right, I'd be bobbing my way through some water if you go back far enough. And the crossing street here is called Industrial Street. I mean, that's, you don't come up with a much better name than that. This building got some Powell's books. Is this like, it's the storage warehouse for all the books they haven't put out on the shelves yet? I didn't know there was anything Powell's related out in these parts. Hello, Industrial Street. You're well named. And we've got some old railroad tracks here. From a bygone era. Maybe just gonna keep on here a little bit. I mean, I eventually was gonna start coming back this way anyway. And then we just got this big fella just sitting here hanging out. It's open out here. It do be that. About to be like, hey, you got any books in there? You got any free samples? Ooh, oh man, there's like grasshoppers everywhere. Hey, little fella. Oh, he gone. Yeah, just like all of a sudden there was like 4 of them all at once. There's Montgomery Park building a ways over there. So again, you know, Lucent Clark Expo Central. This is cool. Got the place, you got the splitter. Jack's going that way, and Jack's going that way, and Jack's going that way. This is not a dead end, is it? That's gonna really suck. I think I can go north or south from here. It's not that big of a deal. I just wanted to see these tracks. And then, you know, they just, from the earth they come, back to the earth they go. This is interesting. You've got, even as these lines split, you've still got the wood crossing over here. Oh, there probably was maybe still some old railing that went through here. So maybe that actually makes sense now. Yeah, because you can see a little bit of old railing popping up there. And those, oh yeah, and then you actually see it pop up again over here. It just refuses to be permanently buried. it looks like this road does continue. It just kind of wrapped around. For a second, I was like, is this going to take me anywhere? Or is this just one of those roads that kind of meanders between industrial buildings that eventually just kind of, you know, stops with no real warning? So yeah, this is more area I haven't really walked through before. So cool. I'm just, oh my goodness. Look at all this metal. Is that all metal? Yeah. Damn. It smells funky. It's funky smelling metal. Northwest Portland. Place where you never know what kind of stink is gonna hit your snout until you're already there. Okay, so I'm coming up to Nikolai Street. It's perfect, makes sense. We're now walking east on Nikolai, ready for the world's thinnest sidewalk. Whoa! Why did that guy feel like he was so much closer to me than he actually was? Happy fun times. One false move, and I am just pancake batter on this wall. It's kind of good. I mean, this is another area that I've walked a portion of Nikolai, but I don't really know if I've walked the whole portion. Sorry, smack my camera. The whole portion between there and like where it connects with, I forget exactly how far NATO Parkway goes north. But I mean, essentially that's my plan, is to ultimately get back to NATO Parkway. But right ways up here, I really haven't seen this area much. I've seen it maybe at a distance. I've maybe driven through there. But in terms of being on my feet, walking around, haven't really been through here much. I think there was one video where I was just exploring this general area. And I may have seen some of this, but not a lot. Oh boy, back to the thin sidewalk. Right as a row of very large and very deadly buses pass by. Saw this building over here, the PCI, with the little logo next to it, and it reminded me so much. How many of you are old enough to remember? I was a child, so how many of you that are probably in your 40s or older remember getting your cable from TCI? I'm pretty sure that was the first cable we ever had when I was like 6. And it was TCI. It was just like very similar font. And the logo was even kind of similar to that. Except I want to say it was more rounded or something. But that's what it's got me thinking of, TCI cable. Oh boy, to be young again. I remember when we got our first cable box after spending the first however many years of my life, you know, having only a few channels to choose from. And then suddenly we got that cable box, 37 channels, come on. Oh boy, this is quite the intersection. We got 1, 2 routes to cross before I even get, and there's nothing to cross over here. So I have to wait and hope a car doesn't fly around the corner and kill me. Okay. Should hopefully be okay now. I just want to get to the other side of the street because I want to check out some of these cool old buildings, like this Imperial Paints one. I've seen these places at a distance, but never really taken them in up close. I mean, this is my favorite kind of industrial right here. A little beat up, still solid, cool signage, painted on the brick. That is an absolute plus. And there's a couple old buildings around here, so I'm going to take those in. Oh boy. Wonder why this is such a busy intersection. This is actually where I'm crossing the highway. Okay. Because I'm not fucking here at all. God. driving a big company, like you're driving a big truck, you're driving for a company. Get your head out of your ass. All right, anyway, it's okay. I'm fine. Fortunately, even if I wasn't paying attention, that was such a massive vehicle, it was impossible to miss. Cool, here we go. Anyway, I wanted to back to work. I've always wanted to get a view of this building, Schoolhouse Electric Supply. I mean, look at it. It's everything you could ask for. Unless you're nothing like me, then you're just like, I don't care. Oh, we got some old. You always know that's kind of old. That is such a cool, just everything. Yep, this very beat up front avenues, 22nd Avenue signage, and we're actually very close. Like right down there is where I was earlier, kind of around 19th, 20th, and Thurman and all of that. And I'm off the highway now, so hallelujah. I'm gonna wrap around this way and we're gonna start turning back south. That is so cool. Like, it's cool all around. And the river just right over there. And of course, there would be no sidewalks over here, but there's grass, and that's just as good. So now 21st. All right, 21st. More old rail lines coming through. So yeah, I'm almost right back to where I was at before. Back to the north side of the highway. But I'm gonna try to veer more west or east, west side of the river, I guess, and then just stick close to NATO Parkway, probably cross the Broadway bridge, catch the Max, and that'll be the end of my day. American Security Alarms. I haven't seen that logo in a long time. My dad worked there for, I don't even know if it was 2 years. And he had I swear he had to have stolen a bunch of boxes because he had so many of these American Security Alarms decals. And he just put them everywhere. He thought, oh, stick a sticker on everything, it'll convince people that you don't steal my stuff. And I remember he put one on our little 84 Honda Accord hatchback, and it got stolen. And they threw a bunch of my dad's papers all over the street, and I guess, I forget exactly what happened. It's one of those things where I remember it happening, but I don't really remember the details. Car got stolen, and we got it back relatively quick, so I think the guy ditched the vehicle pretty quick. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I'm back to Wilson Street. This is, the abandoned road. It's like a block right up there, so everything's come full circle. I'm gonna find a trash can soon where I'm gonna be walking around with this for a while. I turned down 20th and Upshur right there. We're back to we're back here. Back where it all began. So I'm gonna keep meandering back this way, but hey, one more look at abandoned little stretch. Now on Thurman. You keep going Thurman a ways over there. It's really pretty in parts. I more went in the vicinity. I moved a little bit more north of there to just go walk through a little bit of the Lewis and Clark Expo area, but it's really cute back in there as you start heading towards Lower Maclay Park. It's darling, and I'm still here. I'm still wandering, walking parallel to the bridge, or off ramp. I mean, they're bridges, off and on ramps are bridges. But I'm gonna try to get down to about 14th, 15th, that area, and then start going south again. I do want to probably still get to the Broadway Bridge, but with how long I've been outside, how hot it is today, it being sunny, and me forgetting to put sunscreen on, I'm really hoping to avoid getting sunburnt. In particular, the face, my cheeks, my nose, back of my neck, they just go up. So I'm going to try to meander in an area where there's more buildings around to avoid being all the way out. I've never seen this building before. This is, where am I? 17th and Thurman. I've never seen this one before. Cool. But yeah, I'm trying to stay in an area where there's buildings to shelter me, so I don't get a whole lot more sun between now and getting on the max. I think I'm on 15th again. Yeah, I just crossed 16th. For some reason, crossing 16th just became a faint memory. So, starting to feel ourselves getting more back into the city, bit by bit. And it's just like, in a matter of seconds, you're just back in the heart of at least what looks like the Pearl. Because that's the Pearl up there too. But now you really feel like we're there again. It's just, most of the structures are new, they're towering. They cost 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 of your kidneys to afford. It is what it is. I would never want to live here. It's not even about being jealous of those that have, being one who doesn't necessarily. It's just they're also just boring and ugly. It's like they put no effort into these structures. And I know there was. I know it takes more time, effort, and energy than I could probably understand to build a building, but why do they just have to be so boring? Even the nicest ones are just so boring. Well, I can't win them all. Man, it's good timing. I'm glad the journey is almost done, because I'm finally starting to crash a little bit. I slept fairly decent, but it's been a week, and I haven't slept great. Not horribly, but not great. Still had to work a lot. I work at 9 tomorrow morning, and it is what it is. Pettygrove Street. Named after, the street here, named after Francis Pettygrove, one of Portland's earliest fathers. A lot of books that talk about early Portland Street, they kind of regard Pettygrove as being one of the, if not the key figure in developing early Portland, but he was also, like a lot of them, you know, some of them did a lot of good, but a lot of them were kind of sketchy. And that's part of what I've talked about in the past in terms of the sketchy stuff Daniel Lounsdale did. But pretty much Francis Pettygrove sold off land to Daniel Lounsdale that he was not really in a position to sell. It wasn't really his. And then he just kind of sold off everything he had and he split town. So, you know, he kind of was a key developer in early Portland, you know, 1840s Portland. And then when he had the opportunity, he just split. So Daniel Lounsdale gets a lot of that criticism, but I'm wondering how many details about that land that he got from Pettygrove that wasn't really Pettygrove's to sell, how much Lounsdale really knew about that, whether Pettygrove actually told him. I don't know. Oh, and this is the backside, because I'm at 14th and Overton now. And this is that, I showed this in the video I did, 13th Avenue Historic District, because of course 13th Avenue is right there. And this is that Ironworks building, like Portland Ironworks building, because I think it goes through here and then wraps around. Yeah, see, there's more of it over here. What the hell? on to 13th, walking towards Northrop. And I'll turn down Northrop. Yeah, it says Portland Ironworks up there. I couldn't make it out the last time I was here, but now I remember. Just barely. Like with this camera, you probably can't even make it out. It's so faint. Yeah, so we'll go down. I know Northrop kind of comes out, or it goes as far as, and then you turn down south off of Northrop, and it takes you down under the off-ramp from Broadway. So pretty close. The streetcar comes through here. Northrop. Check that out. Alright. It's in the middle of the street, so I can't stand there forever, but that was cool sighting. A little bit of exposed stone underneath the street. 12th and Northrop. So this is 11th and Northrop. At Tanner Springs Park. I think maybe I walked through here once. Oh, we got history. Oh yeah, I wonder if the old Tanner Creek, well, it doesn't run this far north, because I know it comes out, the underground creek as it is now comes out, yeah, more near where Broadway Bridge crosses. But I mean, we're literally like right here on this map. We're, well, more like right here-ish, so, you know, not too far away. Because that's what I'm assuming Tanner is referenced to, was Tanner Creek. Named after Daniel Lounsdale's tannery. Thus the creek's name. It's funny, I was just talking about you. Materials used in the park are original artifacts from Portland's history. The park originally served as baths on ships traveling up Lincoln. They later cobbled the streets of Portland. So this is actually from the old streets of Portland. Oh, and these are rails. The 19th century rail yards, because yeah, a lot of this was all rail yards. So yeah, I'm standing on history, my people. I didn't even realize this was going to be a historical park trip. Well, of course, as I learn more and more with time, Belgian blocks are such a significant piece of Portland history. Cute little space, and I just love that there's a historical twist to it. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Here's the rails they were talking about. So these are rails salvaged from the massive rail yard used to be around, because so much of this used to be industrial and railroad centered. I think, okay, this is the same. Yeah, this is the same thing, just for people coming in, different part of the park. That's so cool. Got a little, I love this. Lily pads. Just row after row of historical significance. That's actually really cool. And I tend to be critical of Portland. Oh, are these old rails too? I just see it as very comparable. Metal. Yeah. Oh, and then this is, yeah. These are obviously old rails too. That's so cool. Usually I'm kind of critical of a lot of new things that get made in Portland. I mean, not that this is, you know, it was built 5 days ago, but it's a newer thing in the broad scheme of things. That I like. All right, let's resume our trek. We're now crossing 10th on Northrop. I saw there was a park there, and I was like, let's bust out the iPhone again. And just crossing 9th and Northrop. Station Way. So you see, Northrop has to end because we literally have the yards from Union Station right here. There's nowhere for it to go. last couple of times I've walked through has been pretty cool. Yeah, there is a Lovejoy. Nope, it's a dead end. It's kind of inferred. Now it's saying sidewalk ends. I guess it does. Does it make it through up here? I guess not. Nah, I'm gonna backtrack. It'll just be easier. My thighs are on fire. I did the old, deodorant trick between the thighs that 99.9% of the time works, and not today. I guess I could have gone through there after all. I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of people huddled up down under there, and they said the sidewalk ends, so I don't know what they think this is. I guess it's not technically a sidewalk. But no, but I mean, it's hot and I'm tired. But yeah, I guess I could have just cut. I don't know why I'm getting so hot under the collar over having to walk an extra like 1 block pretty much. I was gonna have to do this block back anyway. Climbing the ramp. We are getting near peak heat for the day. It's not as bad as it could be in terms of how it feels. After being out and walking around a few hours, it being possibly the hottest day we will have left this year. Because I think it's supposed to dip back down into the 70s. We may not have another 85-degree day this year. Very highly possible. Trying to take advantage, trying to get out, trying to video, trying to be productive, clear my mind, clear my brain, clear my soul. And as the weeks progress, it's gonna, the weather's gonna shift, and it's gonna get harder and harder to go out and get the footage that I need for various projects. So I'm gonna take as much advantage as I can of these last weeks of really nice weather. We meet again, old friend. I feel like I was just here. And my dogs are barking and my thighs are barking louder, so as much fun as this was, and I did walk around a lot, see a lot of things I've never seen before or haven't seen in a long time. So it was a fun day. It was about as good as I could have asked for. Hopefully you enjoy it. Those of you that have been around for a while and, already kind of know what these therapy walk videos are like. But some of you new folks, I'll try to do these whenever I can. It's definitely not easy to find the time. But despite all the fun I've had, oh man, I'm tired. I am ready to go home, do my usual thing after a day out in the city like this videoing, which is to collapse for an hour or two, have a drink, have a snack or a meal if the mood strikes, and then get back to work, but get back to work from the safety of my home, where an extensive amount of walking is not necessary. I have to do this every time I go by. What's up, Albert? I just love that the building's so close to the bridge. This building was built, and I think this building was built in 1911, and then this building opened, I want to say 1913. So this was right here. They got as close as they could because they had to deal with the fact that this new building was here. So I always love reaching out and just slapping it. Constant reminder that it's always there. Hopefully will be in the near future. It's an older building, but it's an older building that's actually being used. And as I begin to proceed across the Broadway bridge, starting to feel that wind that I was really concerned about earlier, but it really, I hope, didn't mess with the audio, because it seemed like the wind wasn't really messing with me that much. And that was the one big concern I had about coming out today. I didn't want to do all this video where I'm walking around and talking, and then a bunch of it's unusable because the wind just destroyed it all. I might be messing with it now because I'm definitely feeling a wind blowing through here, but it's a beautiful day in the city. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this adventure, walking around in an area that I really just don't go to all that often. I've been there here and there, this, that, and the other, but it was a fun day, and it was a good, beyond me wanting to do this and it being helpful for me considering current circumstances, it's a nice space filler because I needed some time this week, obviously, and I also have a pretty big project that I'm jumping onto right now that there's no way I would have had it done this week. And so I thought, what am I going to do this week? I don't really want to start some new big thing because I'm trying to dedicate time towards this other big thing I'm working on. And I thought, you know what? You've said since the start of the year you want to get out therapy walking again. And this is about as good of an opportunity as you're going to have. And it's going to help you at this time and place. Go out there, walk around, make some new discoveries, and have fun with your content this week. So that's why I did this. As I venture into the Rose Quarter, just want to thank you all for stopping by, viewers new and old, subscribers and non-subscribers, Patreon supporters and non-Patreon supporters. If you want to help out my channel, help it continue to grow, I'm really hoping to keep cultivating an ever-growing thing with my Patreon, which is growing a lot recently. And thank you so much to those of you that have gone over and supported my Patreon and continue to support it. I'm trying to get more stuff up there. I'm going to try to get another podcast up there soon. Obviously, last 2 weeks, it's not exactly been a great situation to be trying to think about things like that. And I'm still contemplating what more I'm going to put on there, possibly putting a full video on there that you can only access by becoming a Patreon supporter. I'm just trying to get a little more growth to a point where I don't have to rely so much on like AdSense, like the money you make through the ads on your video, for many reasons. One, you never know when people are going to try to mess with you, copyright strike you, whatever, and just various things can happen that will affect that. And also the ad situation on YouTube's kind of getting a little out of control with how they're getting longer. There's more of them you have to watch, and unfortunately, like, I rely so heavily on that right now that I have to keep those in, or else this starts becoming less and less of a thing. So I'm hoping to grow in more areas, which is why I was hoping near the end of the year I might have merch ready. That's gonna have to be more early next year. There's obviously, this is the prime time when I really wanted to start really working on and organizing that. And I'm sure you'll understand with recent events, I'm gonna need some more time. So I'm trying to continue to grow in ways outside of just ad money from YouTube. Anyway, so Patreon, Patreon is in the link with the description of this video. So of course, this is like the windiest it's been. I'm just walking under this crossing by the Memorial Coliseum. All that said, I'm so hot, my thighs are burning, and I will see you next time.